So he bequeaths his bookstore to Rebecca Dane and sets her up to keep it afloat should she need it. He tells her that he's going on an archaeological dig in the Antipodes, but knowing full well that he's going to disappear, and he instructs his other lawyer, Hal Haug, to sell her the shop for $1.72 after 3 months, mostly to confuse people. And and so he sets his affairs in order and gets ready to go because he knows he might not come back from Asgard. And in the process of doing so, he has a beer with Jesus. Yes, he has a beer with Jesus, and Jesus tells him, yeah, don't do this. Just fucking don't. I mean, that's not his exact words, but that's what he says. And then as he's finishing his lunch date with Jesus, who, by the way, multiplies fish and chips, which I think is awesome. I was like, yay, Kevin Hearne, I love you. As he's finishing up his lunch date, he gets attacked by the Hammers of God. Now, who are the Hammers of God? Remember those, like that rabbi that attacked him? Yeah, Hammers of God. And they're like they do asshole shit in the name of Jesus and Yahweh and stuff. And they utilize Kabbalist sorcery stuff to get their way, I guess. So Atticus gets into a kerfuffle with them, which is putting it mildly, and almost dies, but Jesus heals him because Jesus. And Jesus warns him again, don't go to Asgard. And Atticus goes, I'll think about it. But we all know, right? So after this, or maybe it was before this. Man, my timeline is messed up. Like I said, I'm not caffeinated. Okay, so, oh yes, it was before he has lunch with Jesus. He goes out into the wilderness to teach Granuaile, his apprentice, about elementals and shit. And he strikes up a deal with Coyote, which we do not know the details of. The Navajo god Coyote, so that reasons. But he strikes up a deal with him on the off chance that he comes back from Asgard. Then he meets up with Leaf and Gunnar, and they start to head out to the woods so that they can shift planes and go to Siberia. But as they're driving off, or as they're trying to make a getaway, they find that Bacchus is fucking with Atticus's house, which he's about to abandon, and Bacchus goes, aha, I know you've been blaming me for shit that I didn't do, and I'm taking revenge, basically. And so there's a nice, like, real fun scene where they're, like, running away from Bacchus, and it's hilarious and scary and exciting all at the same time. But Leaf and Gunnar and Atticus make it out, da-da-da-da, to the forest, find a tree that's tethered to Tir na Nog. Atticus shifts the three of them to Tir na Nog and then shifts them to Siberia. Or actually, no, to the Czech Republic, if I'm not mistaken. because, you know, they have to do everything at night because of Leaf being a vampire. So I think it was the Czech Republic and that they shifted to. And they spend the night there, and then they shift out to Siberia, where they meet up with the rest of their Asgard Thor-killing raiding party, which consists of Väinämöinen, who is a Finnish folk hero. Zhang-Gro-Lao, something like that. I am so sorry if I am not pronouncing that right. Zhang-Gro-Lao. He's a Chinese alchemist, immortal person. Let's see. And then Perun, the Slavic thunder god. And so they're hanging out there. And everybody's like, all right, let's go to Asgard. And Atticus says, yeah, no, I can't. Because here's the thing. In order to shift people, I have to know them. Like, I have to know them, and I have to be, like, bonded with them, and I have to understand them. And, you know, and I've known Leaf and Gunnar for years now. And so I know them, I understand them, I am friends with them, I am bonded with them. But the rest of you guys, I don't know you. And here's the other thing. Y'all have to know each other. So they sit around and they tell their stories about why they hate Thor. And so first we learn about why Gunnar hates Thor. Gunnar hates Thor because Thor killed off some of his pack members for funsies, basically. Väinämöinen, who's, like I said, is a Finnish folk hero, hates Thor because Thor killed off a sea serpent friend of his. And Zhang-Gro-Lao hates Thor because Thor tricked him into eating his own donkey, who is a really cool donkey, by the way. Like, you could fold him up like origami and carry him in his backpack, and then like make him a full-size donkey again, sort of thing. Really cool. And then Perun hates Thor because Thor went around telling other thunder gods of other pantheons, hey, the best thing that you can do to get people to worship you is to make, like, statues and pictures and stuff like that, knowing full well that the written word was the way to keep the legends and stories and therefore worship of these gods alive. So basically Perun's number of worshippers went down because Thor went, hey, yeah, so make a bunch of statues. And so Perun tells his people, make me statues, only to now realize that simultaneously Thor was out in Iceland utilizing the written word to put down all the Norse tales and theology on paper, so that now the Norse persist in the minds of people who still believe, if not worship, and therefore keep them strong and healthy as corporeal manifestations of human belief, whereas Perun is now somewhat diminished because nobody knows who the fuck he is. Okay? That's actually, Perun's chapter is my favorite in the book because it's really, really well written. And then finally we learn why Leaf absolutely despises Thor, and it is because Thor killed his family. Yes, Leaf was in a tavern one night talking with other sailors, and unbeknownst to him at the time, Thor, about these rumors he'd heard of these blood-sucking undead people that live forever and have super strength and super speed, and he went, wow, isn't that kind of cool? Because he was a little drunk and kind of hopped up on testosterone. And Thor asked him, yeah, so you'd give up, a place in Valhalla in fighting in Ragnarok so that you could be a blood-sucking monster? What the fuck? And Leif goes, well, no, I've got a family and, and all that. And so Thor goes, fine, you don't have a family anymore. Go do it. So now Leif had to go do it and became a vampire so that he could not necessarily, give Thor what he wanted, but so that he could have a fighting chance against taking revenge on Thor. And so here we are. He has now manipulated his way into the situation, found Atticus, shifting planes, going into Asgard, gotta go kill Thor. So, now that they all know each other's stories, they're starting to bond, they spend a couple extra days telling jokes and bonding further, and finally Atticus goes, alright, let's go. But they don't go directly into Asgard. They go into the realm of the Frost Giants, which is called Jotunheim. And they recruit some Frost Giants to help them fight as well, using Freya as collateral, because the Frost Giants love Freya. They, sickeningly so, to be honest with you. But they love Freya, so Atticus basically says, yeah, no, come help us raid Asgard and you can take Freya for yourself. Yourselves. I should just say, man, my grammar is bad. I really should have made some coffee before recording this show. But meanwhile, while he's in Jotunheim, he is visited by the Morrigan of the Tuatha-Dé-Danann. And she says, look, dude, don't do this. Don't do this. You know what? You only promised to take Leif Helgerson into Asgard. Take him, drop him off, run the fuck away. You do not need to do this. And she says, and I had a lucid dream foretelling that you will die soon. So Atticus is like, ugh. But I kind of have to. So, yeah. That's his greatest strength and his greatest flaw, as all strengths are. Strengths are often also your greatest flaws. So, now that they have Frost Giants on their side, they all go into Asgard and start an epic battle, and people die. Specifically, Norse gods die. Atticus actually doesn't kill Odin. He kills one of Odin's ravens. Side note, if you don't know Norse mythology very well, I should say Norse theology, but whatever. Odin, the All-Father, like the king of all the Norse gods, he has two ravens called Hugin and Munin, which is thought and memory, and they fly around the various Norse plains, kind of, they're like the eyes and ears of Odin outside of Asgard. So Atticus manages to kill one of them, which essentially renders Odin a vegetable. Because I don't know if it was Hugin or Munin, but when you don't have your thought or you don't have your memory, I'm sure it must have been Hugin. Because I can understand if your memories were wiped out, you could still function. So it must have. But if your thoughts are wiped out, then you